welcome to episode 11 of Off the Shelf, the half-term library vlog. I'm Mr. Humphreys.
And I'm Miss Rio, and I'm going to start off with my 7 to 9 recommendations. I've actually got 3 fiction books today.
Absolutely fine.
And the first one I want to start with is The Davenports by Crystal Marquise. And this is a sort of historical romance novel which is set in Chicago in the 1910s. But it kind of offers a glimpse of American history that is often overlooked, and this is about a family who have gained wealth and status after being freed slaves.
Okay.
So their ancestors were in slavery, and it kind of follows the historical processes of what happens after that, and how they deal with that both from an internal point of view and from people outside of their lives. And I read it, it's really good.
Good.
I think, yeah, it's a time period that people often forget about, you know, especially when it comes to African American people. It's very much not a story that we often think about in the, you know, in the timeline of that. So yeah, it was a fun read. If you like Bridgerton and that kind of thing, it's in a similar vein, but a little bit more true to
Bit
the
more
history
historically
of that.
accurate.
Historically accurate, yeah. But yeah, it follows 4 sisters and them trying to kind of navigate that time period and their times in their lives.
So girls are the main characters.
Yeah, the 4 girls are the main characters.
Good.
And there's a handful of other characters as well, but yeah. That's my first one.
Lovely.
Highly recommend that one.
Good.
The next one is Stateless by Elizabeth Wine. Is that how you say her surname?
Maybe.
Probably.
Probably.
But this is the author of Codename Verity, which is probably one of the best-selling historical YA novels from the last 10 years. It was really, really popular and it was really good. And this is her newest instalment. It's not in the same series, but it's in a similar vein. And it's about a young female pilot who is competing in an air race just before the war. So it's set in 1937, which, as we know, is 2 years before the Second World War broke out.
Mm-hmm.
And this air race is basically taking part because they want to unify 2 parts of the country to kind of bring some peace to, I don't know, by the looks of it, promote peace within a divided Europe, and it's a big spectacular show, and they want to bring everyone together to watch the air race. I mean, obviously, as we know, that
Didn't work, obviously.
It didn't work out.
Failed.
But this is also a murder mystery, because as she's taking part in the race, she witnesses something
Untoward.
And she is probably the only one that actually saw it happen, so she basically has to try and prove to the authorities about what she saw during this air race.
Okay.
So it's kind of a novel of 2 parts by the sounds of it. It is a historical fiction, but it's also a murder mystery and a kind of heist thriller. So yeah, it's kind of got a bit of everything, I think, by the sound of it.
Good title as well. Stateless.
Yeah, if you're in a...
Because obviously, when you only think of state, you think of maybe like a refugee or something from their homeland. And you know, you were saying about how he's trying to bring nations together. So interesting. I wonder what it means entirely. Good title.
So yeah, I think if you like either of those things and you enjoyed Codename Verity, definitely one to pick up.
Good.
And lastly, I have Jacqueline Wilson book.
The legendary Jacqueline Wilson.
Yeah, we had to talk about her at some point here.
Yeah.
And it's The Other Edie Trimmer. And I picked this one up because it is about a girl who is working really hard to get the lead role in her school play, which is going to be Oliver. So it was too apt not to talk about, seeing as that's going to be our school play. And yeah, basically she is really, really interested in Victorian history, especially after doing lots of research into Oliver and, you know, trying to work hard to get the role.
Like a lot of our students have been lately.
Yeah. And somehow, I'm not going to say how because I don't want to spoil it, she gets magically transported back to Victorian London and starts to lead a double life as a Victorian girl. But she also has to try and face the dangers that were posed by Victorian London for a young girl at the time, namely the workhouse.
Yes.
So she's constantly jumping between the two and trying to balance her 2 lives, and it kind of gives her a new perspective on the time period, and I think that would help her.
Well, help her get a role and her own life.
Help her get the role and in her own life. So, I also picked this up because I think Hetty Feather is a very popular Jacqueline Wilson read, especially here. A lot of people are still reading that. But this is sort of in a similar vein because Hetty Feather is set during the Victorian times, but it's more of a modern modern version. So if you've read that book over and over again and you want, something new to read, this will be a nice one to pick up. But it's also got a bit of magical realism thrown in, so it's got a bit of everything for everyone, I think.
Yes. Okay. Sounds interesting. Very timely with Oliver.
Yeah, of course.
And it sounds like if she's avoiding the workout, it sounds like she goes through what Oliver Twist went through.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Miss Rio. Okay, so what have we got for older readers? First up, we have a book called The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. Now, this is a literary thriller with a capital L and a capital T, actually. It's literary because it centres around a curator who is working with medieval and Renaissance collections in New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. So it's very learned, very erudite, and it's a thriller because it has all of the aspects of a thriller. There's secrets, there's lies, there's mysteries, ambition, and oh yes, there is murder. There is a body, not in a library, there's a body in a museum.
In the cloisters.
in the cloisters, absolutely, hence the title. So the plot revolves around a very highly valuable and very rare set of Italian Renaissance 15th century tarot cards.
Oh, cool.
Okay, and the intrigue that surrounds them brings out, well, probably the worst in the characters involved, the main character, but also the other main characters. So what this does a very good job of, when we think of the Renaissance, sometimes we might think, well, that's a very distant past, and it's very high art and it's very erudite, as I said, so perhaps we can't immediately draw parallels with our own experience. What this does is that it grounds that in the contemporary concerns of the modern world by having the main characters go through things that are related to these tarot cards plus other mysteries of the cloisters. So yeah, it shows that actually we're not that different to people who lived in classical antiquity.
They're still human beings after all.
Exactly, we all have the same hopes, fears, and all the rest of it. So yeah, so it's a good one, and in the vein of something like The Secret History, you could argue. So yeah, it's and that's one of my favourite books. So this could be. If this reminds me of that, then it's got to be a good thing.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. The cloisters are real as well, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
So
you
can read the book and go visit if you're going to.
Absolutely, sounds like a book that you can then visit the setting in real life.
Yeah, which is always fun.
Oh yes, very much so. All right, next up we have Happy Head. That is all one word, by Josh Silver. Now this is a debut and it's a dystopia. Now it's obviously when we think of dystopias, we think of The Hunger Games, think of Divergent. Now this is every bit as action-packed as those, but it's probably even more unsettling and thought-provoking into what it talks about and what it goes into in the concept. So the Happy Head refers to this thing called the Happy Head Project, and this essentially is an activity centre. And is that the right word? It's sort of like a camp that's designed for unhappy teenagers with mental health issues, disaffected teens who are sent to this camp, and they're put through a series of programs or really challenges. So now these challenges become increasingly, so the main character is a boy called Seb. As he goes through them, he finds them more and more unsettling. So it's a bit Squid Game.
Okay, I was going to say it sounds a bit like Squid Game.
It's a little bit Squid Game, but also the idea of happiness and how, happiness is sometimes seen as an ideal, and perhaps we're a bit pressured to be happy a lot of the time or all the time. It's a bit Brave New World.
Okay. Because
everyone is like preconditioned to be content with their lot with the different groups of people, and so is this. It's like, well, if you're not happy, there must be something wrong with you. So let's send you to this happy.
Not taking in all the factors that actually decide.
That actually make up your existence and how your free will has been taken away. So Seb has to sort of like unravel, a bit like Squid Game, has to say, well, what's the sinister agenda here? What's really going on here? So he has to unravel this. Cool. So yeah, it's it could be the next big thing in way dystopian fiction, quite possibly. There's certainly been a lot of hype around it. So yeah, let's wait and see where this goes next. And also, it's got a bit of an LGBTQ+ angle to it as well. Okay, so definitely something that's worth checking out if you like dystopias, which I think is almost all of us. Yeah. I would say.
We haven't had a new one, like a new big series.
No.
For quite a while in dystopia. So.
No, and I'm assuming this is going to be the first in a series. It's going to be a new franchise. A Happy Head franchise, Yeah, indeed. Right, and then last up, Once Upon a Prime by Sarah Hart. Now, all of us, myself included, I think we fall into the trap of thinking that maths and English are polar opposites. And if you're in an expert at one, you tend not to be so good at the other. Now, actually, they complement each other because let's if you drill down to the most basic level, novels rely on numbering for their pages and for their chapters, and maths formulas and proofs, they rely on grammar and sentences for their structure. So actually, they do complement each other every day, but actually, on a more profound level, they do complement each other. And this book does that. It's got a very good title, very punny, Once Upon a Prime. Yeah, get it? If you don't get it, then there's no hope for you, quite frankly. And this shows that how these two disciplines actually work in hand very, very well. And what it does, it shows that both of them are in the business of helping us understand the world around us. And they complement each other in that. And what Sarah Hart does, she sort of draws the connections by using examples of literature throughout history. So just give you a couple of examples. There's lots of geometry in Moby Dick. And then there's lots of fractal patterns. To give a more modern example, from Jurassic Park. She also delves into poetry as well and other examples. So basically, it's a must-read for mathematicians who are suspicious of the value of English literature, and vice versa. Yeah, so that's pretty much everyone. So it's one I'm going to sort of be foisting upon maths teachers at the school, I think. But obviously, if you want to get your first...
And English teachers.
And English teachers, yeah, both of them, but maths teachers in particular. Yeah. Because I'm in the English literature camp, obviously. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Definitely another one that is worth checking out. Right, okay, so those are the new arrivals. So for this episode's classic, it is the coronation weekend coming up. As we film this, it is a few days away, and we all know that because we've got a bank holiday weekend coming up.
Another one.
2 consecutive bank holiday weekends. So I'm going to talk about a book that's got royalty and kingship at the heart of it. Miss Rio, tell me, who is the most famous king, would you say, in the history of Great Britain?
Oof, I don't know, Henry VIII probably.
Henry VIII, okay. Think more, okay, let me rephrase that a little. What about in a sort of legendary sense, not necessarily the reality of this person is up for debate?
King Arthur and the Round Table.
There we go. King Arthur and the Round Table. That's what I thought you were going to say. But that's okay.
I thought you meant real kings.
No, yeah, to be fair, I probably should. I probably should have specified that. But you're probably right, actually, in terms of definite kings who exist, Henry VIII. But anyway, yeah, King Arthur. And of course, actually, King Henry VIII did, his first son was Arthur.
He did. He loved King Arthur, didn't he?
He did. Prince Arthur. He did love him.
He bought a round table, apparently, that he thought was the real one, yeah, and they had it on display.
There you go.
So.
Of course, trivia we came up for you in this. So anyway, yeah, so to tie in with the coronation, I want to draw your attention to this book here, Here Lies Arthur by Philip Reeve. Philip Reeve is best known for Mortal Engines, of course. Now, this is not as well known, but it is definitely worth you seeking out. It won the Carnegie Medal back in 2008, so quite a long time ago now. It's a very original take on the King Arthur tale because it depicts Arthur himself in a less than flattering light. Mr. Rio just talked about Camelot and the Round Table. Yeah. This Arthur is a bit less heroic, actually. And it's his legendary status is thanks to Merlin, who isn't so much a wizard with casting spells, more with words. He's a bard, and he weaves all of these magical myths around him, and the legend spreads, and with it his reputation gets elevated, his legacy gets elevated. It's also noteworthy for being told from the point of view of a girl as well, which is not something you always get necessarily in books like this. Now, the legend of Arthur has endured. I think everyone watching this will have at least heard of King Arthur and have a vague familiarity with the mythos surrounding him. So this is a riveting read in its own right, but it's also very thought-provoking because it explores how dominant historical narratives, dominant legends can become embedded, and how a myth can grow up around individuals, almost transcend the human and become a legend. So yeah, very very thought-provoking stuff. And if you've read Mortal Engines, which a lot of you will have, as something that you study in year 7 and 8, then this is another thing that's worth checking out by a very very talented author in Philip Reeve. So that's this episode's classic. All right, next up it's time for our this episode's special guests. Now we have had a variety of guests. We've heard from staff and members of the sixth form. Now it's time for our first student guest, someone from somewhere in the senior school. And I'm happy to say that our first guest is Emily from year 9. She is a Litsock regular. She is a friend of Off the Shelf, but also of Litsock, and she reads prolifically. So I'm sure she'll have plenty to say. So without further ado, over to you, Emily.
Recently I read Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman, and it was such a good book. Each chapter was a different myth in the book, and so it all went from the start of creation until Ragnarok, so it was chronological, and each story kind of led to the end myth. It was really engaging, and once I got the book up I couldn't put it down. My favourite part of it was I think Ragnarok, or the myths, how it was all just so different to other mythology like Greek and Roman, and it just interested me, like, to find out more about it, and it was just such a good book to read, and I would reread it over and over again if I could. I think Six Crimson Cranes would make a great movie with a sequel, because it's just it would be a live action movie, of course, and Six Crimson Cranes, I think, like, the way the characters and all the creatures coming to life on screen, that would be such, like, a magical thing to watch, and you would be gripped on your seats the whole time. And, like, I have all these images in my mind when you read it, and, like, everyone does as well. And it's just seeing that on the screen, like, the perfect cast and all the, like, magic and everything put together, it would be perfect. In the sequel, that would really, like, make it a 2-movie series thing, and yeah, it would just be such a great thing to watch. I think Harry Potter is pretty overrated, but I'm saying this because I used to be a really, really big Harry Potter fan. When I read it, I've never watched the movies, but now, looking back, I don't really see much impact. It's all kind of the same. It's a good story, but there are better books from Harry Potter that kind of the same storyline, but it's just more engaging. And I think The Cursed Child, that was a bit downhill from there, and how they're creating a series and everything for this series of books, and it's just a lot for, if you read it the first time, it's good, it's a really engaging book, but it's just so overrated, everyone making more things over and over and over again. It's just the movies and the books, that's good, you don't need more. I don't think The Cursed Child was necessary. The production might have been good, I haven't seen it, but the book really didn't come to the level that the series gave, so yeah. I have quite a few from Michael Morpurgo, but my main one was Alone in a Wide, Wide Sea. I don't think many people have read that, I'm not sure though, but it's just such a adventurous book where the characters go from one place to another, and just so much happens, and it's a really quick and easy read. You could read it in like a night, but it's always so engaging, and more people should read it because it's really lovable. Like, the books that everyone knows of, they're really good, but if you bring in the books like Alone in a Wide, Wide Sea and more, it would just make more of an impact. Like, these unknown books, they're really good and they should deserve to read more. Three Desert Island books are Cain's Jawbone, Flamingo Boy and Heartstopper Volume 3. So for Cain's Jawbone, that would definitely be a Desert Island book, because it's a book that you have to cut out the pages and try to solve the mystery, like the murder mystery inside it, whilst also trying to rearrange all the pages to find the victim and the murderers and everything. And it takes such a long time, and you have to put so much focus into it, but it's also so interesting at the same time. That would definitely be something I take to a desert island. Flamingo Boy, because that's just a book that I read years ago and I just keep coming back to, because it's just so nice to read it again and again, and I love like carousels, and just, it will just remind me of home and everything when I'm on the island. And Heartstopper Volume 3, it's a quick read for me, and I thought I'd take a graphic novel with me, and Volume 3 was my favourite one, so I'd take Heartstopper because everyone loves Heartstopper.
Thank you very much, Emily. Now I have a little bit of literary trivia for you all. Did you know that librarians used to have to learn a specific style of handwriting which was called library hand?
I did not know that.
Library hand is a rounded style of handwriting that was once taught in library schools. The intention was to ensure uniformity and legibility in the handwritten cards of library catalogues. Obviously now we do it all on the computer, but in the past it was all done on cards.
Yeah.
And so librarians would have to learn the same handwriting so that through, in America and the UK, every library would have the same handwriting on all the cards.
I never learned this, because I've only ever worked in library with computers.
Yeah.
So for me in library school, it was learning complex computerized systems of cataloguing. So, well, my handwriting would be better than it is now. My handwriting is pretty poor. If I had to like do a uniform style.
Yeah. So there you go.
So yeah, it could be good for my handwriting. Thank you, Miss Rayo. And to finish up, it's time to announce the competition winner from the last episode of Who's Reading. So let's just give us a bit of a shake. And our winner this episode is Grace in Year 8. Congratulations, Grace. So if you come to the library or send us an email, and we can pick up your chocolate bar. Okay, so for the last time this school year, tell us, who's reading? Okay, so as per usual, if you could either put the entry in the off-the-shelf competition box or send us an email, and we will announce the winner in the next episode. So until then, good luck with the upcoming exams, first of all, and until we see you again, keep reading. Bye for now. Take care.